Is it possible? Is it possible? What the hell is this? Where am I? Why is my room on fire? It's this one. How dare you? How dare you? I only have myself to blame. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry. I'm on the same stupid app, recording app, which I'm kind of coming to like, actually. Look, the replace function is fantastic. The transcription function is fantastic. I want to see what it says with that. The replace function is fantastic. The transcription is fantastic. I want to see. No, really. Oh, it didn't transcribe that. Blah, you know. Now, it said ba. That's fantastic. Okay. Okay. I guess that sounded like a ba. It was meant to just sound like craziness. Okay. Now, you listen here and you listen well. Pardner, do I have a story for you? Oh my gosh. Do I have a story for you? Now, listen, Pardner. Let's mosey on over here to the saloon, where you are going to hear story after story of a very impressive dog. I mean man. I mean horse. I mean drunk. Well, let me see here. What do we got? Certainly not rabbit. Although I think she's impressive. I do. I don't think she's in the story. Hold on. iPad. We're going to talk. There we go. Okay. Look, I'm telling you, hold on. Forgive me, hold on. iPad. Always trying to protect me from me. Now, where were we? Look, very serious things. I don't know what I was going to say. So, transcription. Where are you? Oh, not rabbit. No. Oh, story. Yes, of course. Oh my goodness. I could tell you so many stories. I so want to do the Laughing Ghost. I have a feeling that's going to touch a lot of people, especially the, let's say the more sentimental types, either the more feminine gay men or the more, what is it? Would you call them cis? I don't know. I don't like those terms. I'm sorry. I was raised conservative. I'm sorry. They piss me off. But then again, what was that? I'm not too sure about this gaming chair footrest, but we'll go with it. I pissed myself off, so hey, we're even. I'm too traditional in that sense, whatever, right? But obviously, I am not traditional at all, clearly. I could read you so many stories right now, and I think if I sat here and I read them, it would probably take, easily, to do it right. Oh my gosh. It would take 6 hours straight. I guarantee it would. If not longer. No, it would take much longer. You know how I tangentate. And this is not a damn podcast. What is going on? Why is my room on fire? Why is my life on fire? Oh my gosh, where's my Porsche? A new partner in crime. Now, have we talked about the characters yet? I believe we have. But then again, you have to understand how this works. This is very hard for people to understand. This book is about largely time. You see? You don't. Okay, fair. Time, I believe, plays a big role for the book. I love that. FTB. Oh my gosh. No, this definitely is not an insert in here as a hidden meaning. And it's not about the book. It's not that unsubtle please. Anyways, where was I? Yes, as I said, everything in here has a purpose. It just has to be done in such a way that it seems like it's happening naturally, which can be very difficult. As I said, I was not a talker up until about 6 months ago. I had this constant, facetious, sarcastic, ironic narration in my head of the world around me, but because of things that happened to me, I was unable to really communicate that well with people. So it was very funny to me. I was constantly laughing at inappropriate things in like a smirk or whatever, but I did look pissed off all the time. I have that sort of resting, face. Or I did anyways, not so much anymore. Although I've been told I'm emo. I'm sorry, I'm melodramatic. Okay. Listen, and this is so important. If you like romance, I'm finding out that I love writing romance. And this can go for all sides. Trust me. When you see what a badass Avicary and effing, I have to say effing, it sounds so lame, effing Angoro are, and Otis, in this one, you're going to find out. There's a lot in here for guys. When you see what a freaking badass Otis is, you will understand why this romance is written from all sides. And I'm finding that romance is probably my favorite thing to write by far, even better than comedy. Drama's cool. I mean, if you do drama right, you can bring people to tears. It's amazing. But not like romance. Because romance oftentimes offers you a lifeline and then takes it away right at the end. Oh, it's beautiful. It's your classic tragedy. Oh, it's so beautiful. Anyways, dude, there's times I've been crying writing these characters because you have to understand, I've told you this before, I'm watching it happen. I am watching it happen and writing it. Like a little kid who brings his little laptop to the movie and just writes what he sees, narrative-wise. That's it. That's what I'm doing. I know that sounds crazy. I'm sorry. I don't care, clearly. Look, I've already made it clear by some of the things I've said that I don't care what people think. I'm sorry. I am overdramatic and theatric. And in fact, I started method acting these characters everywhere because I had been depressed for so long and kind of kept to myself. I didn't really kind of like have that outer persona to anybody else. So as I started to feel better, I was like, you know what? I need to method act these characters. And I'll tell you why. I will tell you why. Because clearly I can't method act Jennifer Rabbit in, at least not in Stay Straight. I cannot do that in day-to-day among my coworkers. That would be insane. Instead, I method act usually the insane guy. That would be normal. Avicarius, who's so damn likable. I hate that. I hate liking the bad guy. Angora is so freaking awesome too. You will see. But damn it. Oh, Avicarius is that anti-hero dude, and you can't help but like the guy. But then Otis is like, how do you say it? I don't know how to say it. Otis is like the opposite of the anti-hero. So maybe if the anti-hero is the good one, and then Avicarius is the opposite. But whatever, he's like the yin to Avicarius yang, which is weird because I think, well, yin's like the feminine, but that makes no sense. But whatever. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyways, let's start, shall we? Let's do this. I'll do my best to make it make sense, and not have it be too like choppy because I have to like edit out my mistakes or whatever. But if it does come like that, that's what's going on. It's all being done on a phone app, so forgive me. I'll tell you what, when you subscribe enough and watch enough of my beautiful little ads, money-making ads, and I have my Porsche, I will hire a professional editor and we'll get this bad boy really going, and all I will do is write all the time because I'm telling you, I can't stop. The show must go on. Let's do it. A new partner in crime. Otis was laying on the dusty back porch of Blue Moth Hall as usual. Nothing ever happened in Blue Moth. That was sort of the point. No, Otis was quite happy with his life. You see, it was a dog's life, and Otis was a dog. He was a hound dog, to be exact. A blue-tick coonhound from another time. Yes, Otis had helped a young boy become an expert raccoon hunter. He and his sister had been excellent coonhounds, and the boy wasn't bad either. You see, he was poor and lived on a farm and wanted to earn money for his family. This is why Otis referred to him as Good Boy, and in return, Good Boy often called him a good boy too. It was mutual, you see. Their story had become a bit of a legend in those parts. Otis yawned, and a small string of spittle dripped from his mouth. Ah, a different time. Oh, well, he smiled. He did think of his life on Earth. It was truly a magical time for him and his sister pup. And just like every magical time, time seemed to stop, and those days seemed like they would go on forever. Running through the woods and meadows at night with his sister Olive. I must stop just for a second. I am so sorry. I apologize to break. If you're a child, run. Don't walk the hell out of this room. Do not listen to this. It gets really dark. Okay? And Otis has a lot of freaking anger. Give it to your mom or dad. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. We love Jesus. This is all about bringing people to Jesus. Your kid's doing good, really good, but don't let him listen to this. Okay, it's really dark. All right. Okay, get back to the kid. Hey, kid, I told your mom it's okay. Yay. Okay. All right, back to the story, shall we? Okay. Let's see. And just like every magical time seemed to stop, and those days seemed like they would go on forever. Running through the woods and meadows at night with his sister Olive, calling out their yelps as they chased their prey through the woods, both to protect Good Boy's chickens and to provide money for a very poor family. No, they did not kill for fun. This was real life for all of them, and in those days, starving to death was a very real possibility. And yet, it had been an adventure. Unlike all the greatest adventures, this one had ended with a hero sacrificing himself for others. Yes, Otis was also a hero. Sure, he was a dopey dog who had an inordinate fascination with the feces of other animals. But hero he was, because only heroes could end up in Ned's place. Otis yawned again. What a day. How long had he been laying here? Time is funny. He checked his right paw curiously. Nope, still no watch. Still just a dog. Oh well. He yawned again. I suppose that means I need to go back to sleep. Avicarius said for Otis. That's very difficult to do. I suppose that means I need to go back to sleep. And so he did. And suddenly he was in a dream. And in his dreams, Otis was not just a dog. He was a cowboy, a former renegade from the Southern armies for states' rights, or, as he called them now, the losers. He had been very young and impressionable at that time, and it never quite sat well with him that the rights they were asking for didn't apply to everyone. His grandfather had fought in the Revolutionary War, and although it was very socially improper in the South, he despised slavery, and you see, Otis did as well, as he had been raised by a black woman as his house nurse, a woman who had long since been freed secretly by his family, but whose own immediate family chose to stay with them and work their land that Otis's father had given them. They would do it as workers on the land to everyone else, but all the profits farmed from their portion of the land went to them. This was to keep them safe in a cruel world. Otis's father had been like iron, not a nice man at all, but he had been raised by a black mother too. And although their family fortune had ceased when they, of their own free will, freed their slaves, they still had some land and a house and clear consciences. And more than that, they had their moms. And he had known his black house nurse as Mama, and his real mother as, sorry, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Right away, ma'am. No, the only female love he ever received from a mother was from a black woman, and because of that, the rebels were never referred to as anything but losers when he really got going. And so he had rebelled from the rebels, and he made his way out west to seek his fortune in gold. But despite what the stories would have you believe, there was no gold there for one such as he. You see, he liked to drink and to gamble, and he loved women. And those can all be very expensive hobbies, especially the women. And so Otis made his way in the world to a little town called Tombstone. Tombstone was largely known for its mining operations at the time, although it would later be known for something else. Otis walked into town with the setting sun behind him. His horse walked behind him, glaring sullenly. His horse was named Bad Boy, or BB, as he called him. He didn't dare call him Bad Boy to his face, as BB had the unfortunate ability to understand some human phrases, and for some reason he seemed very familiar with the swear words. Son of a Otis grumbled. He had a rock in his boot again, and thus their relationship was literally a rocky one at best, even though they were best friends. BB thought it was unfair that he was always ridden, and that morning he grabbed the saddle and his big horse teeth and tried to put it on Otis and ride him. But Otis refused. Therefore, today at least, they both walked. And BB glared at Otis and planned how he would someday get that saddle on him. Someday. Otis, of course, had no idea Bad Boy was thinking any of this. As far as Otis was concerned, BB was being stubborn, and so they both walked this day. But Otis walked, and he plotted someday he would get that saddle back on Bad Boy, and he would ride him again like a real cowboy should. Until then, as I said, they both walked together. And the old cowboys of Tombstone, the cattle rustlers, and the ne'er-do-wells nodded knowingly. Ah, another bad boy, they chuckled to themselves. One of the old-timers called out to him mockingly, "Boy, unless you plan to be doing some crime here, you best walk your horse right back out of town." Otis shot him a knowing smile. But Otis was a man of resolute confidence. Well, sort of. Actually, he just didn't care about anything, except possibly gambling and drinking. Oh, and women. But as with so many of his type, he was destined for more. He was a hero in the making. Burp. "Oh, I need more bourbon," he muttered. "Where was that horse anyways? Did BB get into his bourbon again?" He muttered a string of curse words. "Not again." Burp. "Stupid horse is drunk too," grumbled a not nearly drunk enough Otis. "Ah, the saloon, aren't you a sight for sore thighs?" Otis slurred. "And my legs are killing me for some reason." He shot a glare at BB, who gave a loud horse laugh in return. "Ha ha." "All right, Glue, you stay there. Otis is going to make some friends." He gave a mocking half-bow to his horse. "Your Majesty," he muttered in disgust. BB waited. He looked down at his right foreleg. Nope, no watch. Still just a horse. BB started counting down, in his mind, the best a drunken horse could. 8, 4, 6. Beer, stuff, 2, 1, and... Suddenly, Otis came flying through the window with an indignant yell. "Unnecessary!" He slurred loudly, and he flew through the air and hit the dusty ground with a thud. A group of 4 angry men came running out. These were the dreaded Western tropes. A gang of fearsome cattle rustlers who never did anything original or fun. All they wanted was to be young guns who never said they didn't know how to use a 6-shooter. They said they never had much use for it. They were not great people, you might say, but Otis was a tough nut to crack, especially when he was drunk and unable to feel the hits anyways. You see, Otis had been raised by an old-school farmer, and this man was tough as an oak knot. Otis was no pushover himself. He had already seen one of the most brutal wars this country would ever see. He had seen friends and fellow soldiers die right in front of him. Otis smiled and looked towards the angry men. "Good, let's get this over with. I'm thirsty." And suddenly Otis drew his 6-shooters. Bam, 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 bam. 2 men lay on the ground, bullet holes through their right kneecaps. Another was running for his life, and the other seemed to hear the click of his now empty gun. "Perhaps I should keep it fully loaded in the future," he thought dryly. The last man, an apparent leader of the group, smiled with murder on his face. He approached Otis, who hastily stood up and dusted himself off, and then staggered sideways drunkenly. He reeked of bourbon. On the ground, one of the men had extra poker chips and 3 extra ace of spades lying next to their outstretched coat sleeve. "Let's do this, partner. I'm new here, and I aim to commit some crime." Otis chuckled with the laugh of a man who no longer cared if he lived or died. Perhaps that was the bourbon talking, but it was a cruel world. He had long since lost hope in finding good people. Hell, even his horse had issues. Otis walked forward with a menacing smile, and the man who was 4 inches taller and twice his thickness seemed to hesitate for a brief moment. This was not how he had seen this playing out. Sure, they had cheated the newcomer, but everyone cheated in Tombstone. If they got caught this time, well, I suppose they would be the ones digging the shallow grave outside of town tonight. It was a genuine tombstone welcoming party. The man pulled out a Bowie knife, and Otis did the same. It had been his father's. His father had been killed with it by a Cherokee raiding party, a nearly gone remnant of a long-lost time in American history. So long ago, Otis had walked in on the one standing over his father, wearing full buckskin and beads with dried blood painted on his face for war paint. And while he had not liked his father, he decided he liked this man even less. As a 17-year-old boy, he was already a man at heart. He had lived a terribly cruel and hard life on the farm. He walked towards the man casually, who screamed a war cry. Otis picked up a pot of boiling water off the stove and muttered, "Hush," and threw it in the warrior's face. "Here, clean yourself. You have blood all over you," he said grimly. The man screamed in agony as third-degree burns on his eyes left him completely blind. He moved forward, swinging his tomahawk wildly at the darkness his vision had become. All was pain. Otis picked up a meat cleaver sitting next to a half-processed lamb. Not weighted, but should do. He threw it hard at the brave from 5 feet away. A sickening thunk was heard, and the warrior collapsed in a heap. Not much different than a beef cow at slaughter, he thought, though he had never dispatched one quite like that. He walked over and picked up his dead father's Bowie knife. He could care less about the cleaver. There was a single huckleberry flower inscribed on the silver and ivory hilt of the Bowie knife. This was one of the last treasures from a richer family in a different time. A family that over the years watched their fortune dwindle as they could not keep up with the prices of those neighbors who all used slaves. He wiped it on the Indian warrior's frayed blue jeans. "We got the better end of the bargain, Mama," he said, and raw pain choked in his throat. This was not like him. He had not cried since he was 6 years old, and his dad had forced him to kill his blue-tick hound dog that was showing the first signs of rabies. He closed the door to the room his mama lay dead in. 4 arrows stuck from her chest. 1 dozen more riddled the rest of her body. She had a look of surprise on her face. He would never come back to this house. Tears came unbidden. He would become a soldier. Only then would he be strong enough to stop injustice in this hellish world. And now Otis stood with the same knife in front of a man who had no idea what or who he was dealing with. Otis was 30 and in great shape. He may be smaller than the man before him, but under his clothes were muscles like iron forged from hard work on a farm from the time he was 4 and in war. More than that, Otis had a mind not of iron but steel. He was not the smartest cowboy out there, but he was hard and uncaring for a world which had only hated him. And he no longer felt things like fear or apprehension, so his mind was constantly working at full speed on any threat. In his mind, he was always the ultimate threat that must be controlled for the safety of the so-called innocent. The man stepped forward towards Otis, crossing in front of the large wooden sign in front of the saloon. He breathed menacingly under his breath, and now there was not murder, there was torture on his face. He was going to kill Otis, sure, but he was going to thoroughly enjoy the process. Slow, very slow. The man was now fully in front of the wooden sign, welcoming newcomers to the saloon. "I'm your worst nightmare, Pardner," he breathed with the voice of death itself. Otis muttered casually, "Whoops-a-daisy," and underhand threw the Bowie knife at the man, who was immediately pinned to the sign by the foot-long blade into his stomach. He groaned in pain as the huckleberry flower shone on the hilt of the knife back at Otis. "I'm yours," Otis said casually as he walked by. Otis smiled and looked over his shoulder at the dying man. "Stay there, I'm getting my money you stole." Otis walked in the saloon as the man passed away, still pinned to the sign, a pierced artery, making quick work of the leader of the Western tropes. His former gang member, who had ran behind the nearest house, took his hat off and placed it over his chest as he looked at his fallen leader, Rattlesnake Jack. Truly a trope in death, as he were in life, he said sadly, and laid down to wait for tomorrow's sunset so he could walk mysteriously out of town. As Otis entered the saloon, the place went silent. The ladies in the saloon all looked at him with a mixture of fear and attraction. They knew the men he had taken out were trash, and he took them out like trash. The famous scoundrel turned cowboy had finally arrived and in style. Otis Tickblue stopped for a brief moment and took in the smoky air. All right, ladies. Destiny has finally arrived. Who's first? The piano started back up with a much more lively tune, and the bartender brought him a bourbon on the house. Bad Boy stuck his head in the broken window smelling fresh bourbon. Yes, he thought, destiny has arrived. But whose? Back on Ned's place, a tiny chunk of a planet that circles endlessly in an eddy of the time stream, a blue-tick coonhound arose. On the dusty back porch of Blue Moth Hall, the only house that existed in Ned's place, a very dopey, very hungry dog slowly opened his eyes. He yawned, and drool began to leak out of his floppy lips. I suppose I should get some food before nap time, he said dopily. Otis was just a hound dog after all, and no one really took him all that seriously. He stood up slowly and stretched his back and shook his coat lazily. More spittle flew around the porch. Some landed on a rocking chair that was rocking ever so slightly next to him. Back and forth it rocked gently, slowly coming to a stop with no one in it. A half-drunk glass of bourbon sat on the table next to it. Beads of moisture slowly fell to the table with no coaster to protect the wood from the moisture above. Good girl will be furious, Otis thought as he walked lazily past into the kitchen, completely unaware that destiny had arrived.